for everyone listening, I have a real practice of handing things over to God, spirit, source, whatever you want to call higher power, whenever I want to grip or obsess or fixate or be in perfectionism. And so this is a real practice for me because I do feel surrendered and trusting of exactly how this goes, the exact women who show up, the exact women who come virtually or in person and are impacted by this will be perfect. And I notice my mind going into wanting to control, wanting it to go a certain way. And so I get to keep coming back to my practice of handing it over to something greater, the greater plan and my higher power. And that is applicable as a practice everywhere in my life. Same thing with calling in my next relationship. To just veer into another thing that's coming up for me is, this, I just turned 29. I just had my 29th birthday. And in creating what I want for my next year ahead, I was really vulnerable with our friends here. I was going to say my friends, but there are friends here in Bali, about, what I want next. And it felt really vulnerable to reveal wanting, my next partner. And why it felt so vulnerable. I've had amazing lovers. I've had, great partners, but I haven't been deeply and profoundly met and in love the way that I was, since 2.5 years ago. And I feel that that readiness. I've done a lot of healing. I've obviously been doing tons of inner work. I teach this, I practice this, and it feels like a different edge of vulnerability to actually open to the level that I want to be met and seen and loved and, and challenged and all the things by a man. And so I really opened to share that tender desire with our friends and cried and just shared the vulnerability of it because of how painful it was when my last really significant loving relationship ended. And, the desire for it and also the fear of it. And so just bringing it back to my practice around handing it over to something greater, I have a practice every morning where I, in my meditation, hand over this important area of my life, my love life, to a posse of spirits, guides, and angels. So I've called in or energetically hired this posse of spirits, guides, and angels, and I hand it over to them every morning, and I say, thank you so much for handling this really important task. Thank you so much for getting him ready and getting me ready and bringing us together at the exact perfect right time for us, and having us both be prepared for this relationship that we're about to create. And so I just wanted to share that too, because it feels like a vulnerable desire, and I can fall into, when's it going to happen? And what's it going to be like? And is it going to end like the other one? And will I have to be heartbroken again? Or any way that I'm wanting to manage it, control it, figure it out. And whenever I'm in that mode, I'm like, I'm not trusting a greater plan. I know I say God's got it. You can say Goddess has got it, whatever you want to say, but you've heard me say this lots, but I love to say God's got it. And so I always remember that. And I hand it over to my posse of spirits, guides, and angels to keep handling that important task and bringing him in the divine timing for me and bringing me into his life at the divine timing.
What would you like people to know about this sexual liberation journey?
Well, I think the first thing that came to mind when you said that is just how massively important it is and that it can't be stepped over.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that my teacher, Nicole, says is that you can't selectively numb. And so a lot of people are even in the personal development space or spiritual space are growing in certain areas or are focusing on healing in certain areas, right? Like around their purpose or around their family relationships or around friendships or around, money, all extremely important areas of life. And so amazing to be focused on and doing work around inner work around. And I notice that in a lot of spaces, sex is missing. And if we're numb around sexuality, talking about it, feeling in our bodies, experiencing pleasure, healing trauma, if we're numbed out, everything else is muted. Like everything else feels, to me, this is how I kind of see it and feel it, is like when one area is numb, everything is just subtly muted or dramatically, right? It depends. But it's the sensation and the color is muted. And that is why I'm so passionate about the sexuality work and working with women around their desire and their bodies and their sex. Because, like I said, our hunger, our appetite, our desire is the basis of everything, actually, in my view. And when we're tamping down our voice, our hunger, our truth, our intuition, our pleasure, everything else is impacted. And so I guess the thing that I want people to know is it's all connected. You can't outrun it. It's going to catch up to you if you ignore this area of your life. Like, it will show up, and it will, you can listen to the whisper of wanting to work on this or explore this, or you can wait till you're hit by a Mack truck, whether that's a massive divorce, or, it's some sort of sexual trauma or relational trauma, or, something really, really big emotionally or physically or spiritually that happens in your life. Like, it could be something really, really intense or tumultuous, or even like, it could be like a car accident, right? But something will happen, most likely, that is like the equivalent of a Mack truck in your life if you don't follow the inner voice to look at these things, if you're feeling that call, because it's all connected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so true. These whispers, these nudges from the universe,
Yes.
it's there for a reason. It's guidance. It's bringing you on your path. And I think for quite a few years, I was hearing them, but I wasn't jumping on it, and then it turned to so much binge eating, so much late night partying. Like, I was so numb. And then eventually it was like, boom, you are stopping all of this. And I just went the complete opposite way. And so I waited until it hit the bus hit, kind of thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot. One of the sayings I like is, you either come to transformational work from inspiration or desperation.
Yeah.
And I think it's really true. And I found the first round of personal growth work that I did from inspiration. I was like, wow, that sounds good. I want to try this. But the sexual work, it really took desperation for me. Like, I was so disappointed and discouraged in my sex life and my love life that I was willing to do these weird workshops and these things that freaked me out, talking all about orgasm and intimacy and pleasure, because I needed it and I was desperate enough to try it out. And so, yeah, it can come in any way. We just often make it harder for ourselves because we ignore the inner voice.
Wow, absolutely. And just as you're saying that, like, I'm at the moment having just recovered from COVID and all kinds of weird and wonderful things, which I'm still learning from. But since recovering from that, I am on like 100% health journey. Like, I'm literally sat now, and in front of me there is a box of like organic everything in front of me, and a brand new juicer. And last night I was in the bath for 2 hours in salt, soaking in different salts, and I ordered a Vitamix whilst I was in the bath. And I'm just like,
Oh my God,
I've been kind of rebelling against myself, a bit push pull. Sometimes I'd be healthy, sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes, it was a bit of everything. And at the minute, I was in desperation even a month ago. Well, we spoke on the phone a few times. I was just like in tears, thinking I was never coming back. And it really, really has sent me on this new trajectory that I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah. And I just wanted to speak to that for a second around like this sort of, oh, I've gone really healthy, I've gone not so healthy. I mean, whatever you want to call it, because of course it's all it's all objective. But I so get that. And I just want to give a lot of permission for the pendulum swing.
Yeah.
Because it's important on this journey that is life, and the contradictions. Like yeah, our life is full of contradictions and and dichotomies and like seemingly opposing things that are both true, that can both be true, right? And like allowing ourselves to go to the other side of the pendulum, or swing to the opposite side, to learn and to find our center and to balance, and that it's all perfect. With our health, with our sexuality, with our anything, with money. I mean, there's all these ways, and I think we can go into shame. And I don't think you are, but I think generally just anyone listening, I just want to give some permission for like, yeah, wherever your journey takes you is like, oh, I'm on a major health kick. And before I was like, yeah, eat whatever you want. That's important. And it's like, yeah. And maybe now you're like, no, only eat green juice. And it's like, great, go for it, and that's not wrong either. And that it's all right. And it's all perfect.
Absolutely. And if anyone listening ever needs a permission slip, just send Aimee a message on social media.
Gosh.
She has a lot of permission slips to give out.
I totally do. And I love that you brought that up, because I just finished my Get Your Sexy Back masterclass this week that I led with Ellie, my business partner, for 3 days. And one of the days we have the women create permission slips for themselves and for all women.
Wow.
And it's so powerful to see what they write for themselves. And they're like, wow, I never thought that I needed permission for this. And wow, I loved seeing what came out of me when I was writing about all women, what I wanted to give them permission for. And so, yeah, I feel very passionate about being a permission slip, handing out permission slips, and creating the space for other women to create their own.